Hey, what's up, Eagles fans? Welcome to another episode of Eagles Latest. As we get closer to the NFL schedule release, we also found out one of the first games on the Eagles schedule. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but want to open it up to you, the viewers. We're getting into that slow period here in the NFL season as we await for training camp to begin. Obviously, teams reporting for practices and whatnot. Let me know what you want to discuss. Is there any topic that you want to hear or want to talk about, whether it's roster construction, free agency, projections, whatever you want to hear? I am all ears. Drop it in the comments, and let's make this a podcast for both you and myself, where we can have a nice back and forth and talk about things that interest you guys. Again, we're going through this slow period in the summer, and news is starting to slow up a little bit, but would love to open up the floor to the viewers out there and discuss any topics that you are wanting to hear, if any topics that are concerning, any topics that you think would be fun to just kind of talk about as if we were at a bar just watching a game and enjoying a drink. So appreciate all the viewership so far and the subscribers, and looking to continue to build this thing as the season gets closer. Well, for the NFL schedule, we are getting closer for the league-wide release date. We know that there's going to be games leaked leading up to it. The one game that wasn't leaked, but it was announced, the Eagles will be playing the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day this season. It will be the third time that the Eagles and Cowboys will square off on Turkey Day, and the Eagles have now played on Thanksgiving, or will play on Thanksgiving for an seventh time, excuse me. The Eagles are 2-0 against the Cowboys in the head-to-head matchup on Thanksgiving Day. They first met back in 2014 down in Dallas, where the Eagles stomped the Cowboys 33-10, and then you have to go back to 1989 when the Eagles shut out Dallas in Dallas 27-0 for the 2 wins for the Philadelphia Eagles on Thanksgiving. So we do know that there's at least one game on the schedule. It is Week 12. It is slated for a 4:30 kickoff on Fox. And it is the first time the Eagles will be playing on Thanksgiving since 2015. And they've had a good record in franchise history on this holiday. They own a 6-1 overall record. And this is going to be an interesting matchup, because I think there's a lot of people that believe Dallas had a pretty good draft. They think Dallas could be a playoff team this year if they could get the defense right. They obviously have made changes with the coaching staff and all that stuff. So it will be perhaps a meaningful game in Week 12 for both teams. The Eagles have been dominating the division over the last couple of years. And the Cowboys are just trying to get back into relevancy in terms of being crowned kings of the NFC East. So Eagles, Cowboys, Thanksgiving Day, it's coming our way, Week 12, and we'll see if there's any more games that are announced or leaked. We typically do see some games leaked prior to the league-wide release, but we do know for certain that it is a Thanksgiving Day game for the Eagles a year after they played on Black Friday at home. Moving forward now, it's an interesting topic of discussion. Obviously, some are looking to just kind of create things, but I did see an article pointing into the direction that Nick Sirianni could be on the hot seat entering this season. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because, yes, Nick Sirianni has been very good win and loss record. There's no doubt about it. He's led the Eagles to 2 Super Bowls. He has nearly a 700 winning percentage with the Philadelphia Eagles, has never had a losing season. However, if things don't go well this season, how short would the leash be for Nick Sirianni this year? It's a second year in a row where they have hired a first-time offensive play caller in Sean Mannion. Nick Sirianni elevated 2 one-and-done coaches to be offensive coordinators in Brian Johnson and Kevin Patullo. We all know how those two fared in Philadelphia. Jeff McClain, great Eagles beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, reported earlier in the year that it was his understanding that Sirianni was on the hot seat after a 2-2 start in the 2024 season. And after that win where they scraped by the Cleveland Browns at home and Sirianni was, yelling at the crowd and doing all of his things, that Jeffrey Lurie was potentially looking to make a change. And Sirianni had to make a lot of changes, and he was able to stick around, and we obviously know how that season ended. But does Nick Sirianni's seat get hot if they get off to another 2-2 start, or if the offense just doesn't look good again? Jason Kelce said on WIP earlier in the year as well that with the NFL changing, and I kind of agree with him here, that the NFL is hey, what are you doing for me lately type of business now. You've seen coaches get fired, and you're seeing young coaches make deep runs in the playoffs. I mean, look at Mike Vrabel of New England. He led the Patriots to the Super Bowl in his first season. Brian Johnson of the Chicago Bears, or Ben Johnson, of the Chicago Bears. Like, he has been fantastic. He got the Bears looking really good. He got Caleb Williams looking like a quarterback that could be a wrecker for opposing defenses moving forward. You've got other coaches that are around the league that have had success and that have been able to continuously mold with the changing landscape of the NFL. Nick Sirianni, can he do that? He's relinquished play calling responsibilities. The offense looked terrible last year. It's one of the highest paid offenses in the league. So Nick Sirianni, I'm going to say he's not on the hot seat to go into the year. I don't think that would be the correct phrasing. But I do think, and again, it's hard to believe with the success that he's had. Again, 2 Super Bowls, near 700 winning percentage. But with some of the friction in the locker room that's been reported, he's supposed to be the vibe guy, the glue guy that keeps everybody together. I know the players love playing for Nick Sirianni. There's no doubt about it. But after a while, sometimes the messaging from a coach just doesn't stick. We just saw that with the Philadelphia Phillies across the street at Citizens Bank Park. Players loved Rob Thompson. Messaging wasn't really getting through anymore. They got off to a slow start. They make the change, and now they're on fire under Don Mattingly. The Eagles, they made the playoffs. It was kind of a smoke and mirrors again because the offense was so bad, and then we saw what they did in that second half against the Niners in the opening round of the playoffs. So I think Nick Sirianni, going into the season, he's okay. But, hey, they start off 1-3, 2-2, or, by midway through, they're 2-5. Things are going to start to kind of get ugly, I think, again in Philadelphia, and the conversation's going to get picked up more. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the name of the business here in the NFL. They want coaches that can adjust, that can maneuver and work around different things, and be ready to elevate this team. Nick Sirianni continuously says, hey, this is my offense, or this is part of my offense. Now he's apparently giving it all to Sean Mannion, but that remains to be seen until we see this team out on the field and see if there's any remnants of the last 2 years where a lot of it just didn't work. So Nick Sirianni on the hot seat to start the season? I don't think so. Nick Sirianni on the hot seat after a slow start? I do think so. So I would love to know your thoughts on it. I know there's some people that just don't like Sirianni to begin with. I am not in that camp. I do think what he's been able to do has been really impressive, especially with his background and lack of head coaching experience coming into this job. And yes, he's got a great roster. Yes, he's been surrounded by a wonderful coaching staff, an owner and GM combo that is arguably the best in the entire NFL. But he still has been able to get these guys to respect him and want to play for him, and that speaks for something. Moving on here as we wrap up this episode of today, wanted to pose a trade question to you out there. Would you trade Kelee Ringo? Now, I know Kelee Ringo has had a tough career with the Eagles. He's really just been really good as a gunner on special teams. He's big, he's athletic. You can't take that away from him. But do the Eagles just try to get like a day 3 pick for Keely Ringo and say, hey, it just didn't work out, and we're gonna cut ties and just move forward? Because I don't know how he's going to see the field this year on defense unless there's a couple of injuries. We saw what he did on the field when he was playing, especially against the Washington Commanders, where we saw that play where the quarterback was rolling out to his left from like the 4-yard line. Ringo had to step up and attack the quarterback, and all of a sudden he just spins around and tries to go into coverage and allows the quarterback to just walk into the end zone. So, I think Keely Ringo is frustrated with himself with the way he's played. You could see it on his face in the locker room after games at times. Again, really good special teams player. There is value to that on the Eagles. There is value for that on other teams. But would you trade Keely Ringo for a day 3 pick? Or would you give him one more year to try and right the ship? Because, again, he does have some physical traits, but he just hasn't been able to put it all together. Let me know in the comments what you think about that trade. Certainly interested to hear your thoughts. That will just about do it for this episode of Eagles Latest. As always, appreciate you tuning in. Drop a comment. Like I said, let me know what you want to discuss. Are there any topics that you want to talk about on the podcast, whether it's roster construction, free agents that are out there that could possibly be a fit? I'm all ears as we look to navigate through this slow part of the offseason. Hit that like button. More importantly, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It would really mean a lot. And don't forget, you could take Eagles Latest on the road on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you feel like doing so, a 5-star rating would also be greatly appreciated. We'll talk to you tomorrow.